All right, this is a top skill to know for SATs for really seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade. And it's solving for a variable. And you're going to see this skill come up over and over and over again, especially on SAT questions. It's just an algebra skill that is used in so many different types of problems that you have to know it. So let's jump into it. The first type is just generally how do you add and subtract values to the other side when you're solving for a variable, X, Y, W, M, whatever. So let's just jump into it. To get rid of this 3 to solve for X, I do the opposite because when I do the opposite, this goes to 0 and that's what I want. And I could write 0 plus X equals 10 minus 3 is 7, but the math geek world doesn't put the 0 in the plus there. It just, we're kind of lazy, so you just kind of leave it as just X equals 7. Now, I could have added anything I wanted to both sides. That's legal, but it wouldn't do any good. So if I added 87 to both sides, it wouldn't do me any good. That's why I don't do it. I did -3 because that gets the 3 to 0. All right, let's look at this one. -8, so I add a +8 to get that to 0. And I get y equals -2 plus 8 is 6. This went bye-bye. All right, this one +5, so I do the opposite, -5. And I get w equals -4 plus -5 is -9. And there you have it. All right, let's get this erased and get to the next topic. Dividing. If you have a number beside a letter, that's called a coefficient. And if you want to get rid of the coefficient, you're not really getting rid of it. You just want to get it down to 1. You're going to divide by the same number, not the opposite this time, the same. So I do 3w over 3 and then 9 over 3. And that gives me 1w equals 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, we don't, in the math cake world, we don't put 1w. We just put w. Could you put 1w? Yeah, but I don't know. It's just not normal to be done in the math world. Here I divide by 5, so I get x equals 6. Notice it's not the opposite, it's the same number. All right, here I divide by 6, so I get 8 equals y. I'm a little OCD with my variables. I like to have them on the left, so I'll write this as y equals 8. Either way is fine. What if you have to add and subtract and divide? What do you do first? Well, you got to get rid of the constant first. You got to add or subtract first. So if you have +4, you do a -4, and you have 3x equals 9. Then I divide by 3, divide by 3. So 1x or x equals 3. All right, for this one, I get rid of the 7 first, -7, -7. So I get 4w equals 20. And I divide by 4, divide by 4. And I get w equals 5. All right, for this one, let's see, I want to get rid of the -5 first. Again, you have to get rid of the constants first. That's just the rule. Don't worry about the letters until you're down to just the letter. All right, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And I get 45 equals 9m. That went bye-bye. Divide by 9, divide by 9. So you get m equals 5. All right, so that's a combination of the two. All right. Like, what if you have something like this where you have variables on both sides? What do you do? Well, you just have one extra step. You just got to move the variable. You just got to combine the variables to one side and the constants to the other side. I like to have my variables on the left, so I'm going to subtract 5x to both sides. So 3x minus 5x is -2x. Minus 4 equals 2. Now I can get rid of I can move the constant over. So -4 goes to +4 because you want to get a 0 here. So I get -2x, that goes bye-bye, equals 6. Here I'm going to divide by -2 because it's the same thing to get 1x. And I get x equals -3. 6 divided by -2 is -3. All right, same thing here. Now, if you look at this one, I can actually do a little combining first, and that will save me some headache later. So 7y plus 3y is 10y. Minus 2 equals 2y minus 8. That's just going to make my life a little easier. Now, -2y, -2y. 10y minus 2y is 8y minus 2 equals negative 8. All right, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. This went bye-bye, by the way. All right, so this is 8y. This goes bye-bye. Equals negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. I divide by 8, divide by 8. And I get y equals negative 6 over 8. I'm going to reduce it, divide by 2, and I get negative 3/4 is what y is. All right, let's get to a little harder. What if you have a fraction? I'm going to be honest with you. When I was growing up, I hated fractions and equations. I had to get rid of them. You can deal with fractions, but I've never seen students be very successful dealing with just fractions. So let's get rid of them. How do you get rid of it? Easy. I'm going to multiply everything in this equation by 4. I can multiply everything by 20 million, but that's not going to help me any. 4 is going to help me. Watch this. And you have to multiply everything by 4. If I do 4 times 3/4, that goes to 3 because the 4's cancel. Then I do plus 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So I was able to get rid of that fraction. Now I just solve it like I did before. Negative 3, negative 3. So I get 4x equals negative 23. I'm going to divide by 4, and I get x equals negative 23 over 4. Now, if I want to change that to a mixed number like a good math geek, I would. I get negative. 4 goes into 23 5 times with 3 left over, 4 on the bottom. All right. This one, I'm going to multiply everything not by 4 this time because the bottom number is 5. So I'm going to multiply everything by 5. 5's cancel. So I get y minus 5 times 4 is 20 equals 5 times 8 is 40. Add 20 to both sides, and I get y equals 60. And that's it. All right, for this one, I'm going to multiply everything by 7. 7 times 3w is 21w. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35 equals. This is why I multiplied by 7, because the 7's cancel. And I'm left with 6. All right, I add 35 to both sides. And I get 21w equals 41. Divide by 21, divide by 21. W equals 41 over 21. And let's change it to a mixed number like a good math geek. 21 goes into 41 only one time, actually, with 20 left over and 21 on the bottom. And there you have it. All right, let's move into another set here. All right, this is distribution. Distribution is not difficult. You just have to make sure you do it first before you do any simplifying. That's the big rule. So simplify or distribute first and then simplify. So I'm going to distribute. 3 times 4x is 12x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 equals 6. I don't do the 3 times the 6. This is not like the last problem. You don't do that when you're distributing. Distribution is much different than multiplying the entire equation by a number. I add 6 to both sides. So I get 12x equals 12. Divide by 12. Divide by 12. So x equals 1. All right. Let's get to the next one. Distribute first. 2 times 7 is 14. Minus 2 times 2 is 4y equals 8. I don't do the 2 times the 8. All right. Now I do negative 14. Negative 14. And I get negative 4y equals negative 6. Divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. And y equals to 2 negatives go to a positive. I call it 2 wrongs make a right. And that gives you 6 over 4. Reduce it to 3 over 2. Divide by 2. Then I'm going to change it to a mixed number. 2 goes into 3 once. 1 left over. 2 on the bottom. All right. Now, 8 plus 2. Okay, I'm going to distribute first. So I'm going to do 8 plus 2y equals 3 times 2y is 6y. Minus 3 times 1 is 3. Now, I'm going to move the y over, so negative 6y, negative 6y. And I get 8 minus 4y, because 2y minus 6y is 4y, equals, that goes bye-bye, minus 3. All right, now I'm gonna subtract 8 from both sides to get that to 0. And I get negative 4y equals negative 3 plus a negative 8 is negative 11. Divide by negative 4, and y equals a positive 11 over 4 because two negatives go to a positive. And change that to a mixed number, and you get 2 and 3/4. All right, let's get to little tougher problems here. This is kind of a combination of everything we've done. And these are not typical problems, but if you can do these with no mistakes, you're doing a really good job. All right, the first thing you got to do is get rid of the distribution. You have to distribute before you do anything to simplify or to solve. All right, 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Plus 5x minus 2 equals 3x minus 4. All right, I'm going to combine 6x and 5x to give me 11x. Negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11 equals 3x. I'm just cleaning it up, just simplifying things to make my life easier. All right, now I'm going to move the x over. Negative 3x, negative 3x. All right, and that gives you 8x minus 11 equals negative 4. I'm going to add 11 to both sides. 8x equals 7. Divide by 8, divide by 8. So x equals 7/8. All right, last one here. All right, distribute everything first. So you get 8x minus 3 plus 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 1 is 2 equals 3 times 2x is 6x minus 3 times 4 is 12 plus 5. Be careful. Don't do the 3 times the 5. That's not legal. Don't do that. Now I'm going to combine like terms on each side before I start moving anything over. All right, 8x and 2x is 10x. Negative 3 and positive 2 is negative 1 equals 6x. Negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7. All right, I'm going to move the negative 6 over to get that to go bye-bye. That goes bye-bye. And that gives me 4x minus 1 equals negative 7. All right, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I get 4x equals negative 6. Divide by 4, divide by 4. And I get x equals negative 6/4, which reduces to negative 3/2, which changes into negative 1 and 1/2 for a mixed number. And there you have it.